Hey, just a quick note before this video starts. I am currently on day 19 of not smoking any marijuana. We filmed this video 9 days ago, but it was really cool as I was editing it to see how much better I feel even than when we first filmed this video. This is a pretty tough and open and honest conversation between myself and one of my closest friends in the world, and I hope you enjoy it. Hello and welcome back to Quitting Together. My name is Aaron and I'm so proud of you for being here. Today is a very special day because I am here with my very good friend, Justin, who is doing this entire year of sobriety with me. So, Justin, how are you doing today?
Doing good, man. It's, 9 days officially?
10. Today is the 10th.
So Sunday was mine. So,
that's awesome.
The 31st officially. So, yeah, 10-ish days. So, feeling good, man. Feeling good.
Good. He started like 6 hours before me, I think, or so.
Well, so my two were both marijuana as well as nicotine. So marijuana I did, I think, about 24 before-ish, right? Because I did it that Sunday, and then nicotine was right after midnight. So, yeah, about the same time. So.
That's awesome. And I was basically like probably 2 a.m. The night that I quit, I had a gig. And I got home from my gig and I smoked for the final time and then got rid of all of my stuff. So you've got he's a couple hours longer sober than I am right now.
I'll brag about it forever.
Yeah. Hey man, I've been sober 5 hours more than you, don't forget it. But yeah, I don't know if you want to say anything about anything before we start.
No, I think this is, it's been fun watching the channel. I didn't know about the channel, previous attempts and things. We've only talked about that more recently. This is something that Aaron and I have talked about, since our friendship really started, 2 years ago. Right? Mm-hmm. And our struggles with this. So I think we've had different attempts. I've tried, even with you over the past year or so during yours. So seeing this channel has been helpful. When you asked me to be a part of it, I was like, absolutely, right? Watching other people struggle with it, all the other comments, it's not just us, right? I think so many times, especially, in this regard with marijuana, it's almost like, people gatekeep addiction and recovery. Mm-hmm. And marijuana, people don't take it, they're like, oh, it's not, that strong of a drug. It's not addicting. It's just not true.
Yeah.
So being able to see others that are dealing with it, going through Reddit more, reading those, going through the comments within your community and what you've built, it's been so impressive. I think, anything I can do to assist and help others, on this journey, happy to do. So.
I think that's kind of what makes this a unique, I guess, channel in a way, is that we're really not that good at sobriety. We're 10 days in,
yeah.
But we are really good at addiction. Yeah. Right? We've had years of becoming very good at addiction. And so I think that because of that, we're kind of experts on that aspect. I have, with my heart condition and stuff, my heart doctor once said to me, he goes, it's wild because I have studied hearts, done stuff with these hearts all my life. I know exactly how to fix the problem. I will never know what it feels like to have the problem.
Yep.
You are the expert on what it actually feels like to have that. And that's kind of like what it is with this. What you were saying with the gatekeeping with marijuana is fascinating to me because a long time ago, I had a stint where I had to go do a couple of mandatory drug classes because I got caught in Virginia with less than a gram of weed that wasn't even mine. It was just in the car that we were in. This was maybe in 2012 or probably 2014 or something. But, and I had to go to drug classes for that. And I felt almost like an idiot being there because there was all these people who were talking. They'd be like, so how's your addiction affected your life? And they're talking about how they've lost everything and their kids don't talk to them. And I'm sitting here at that point, I'm 24, 23, and I'm like, I'm in a recording studio, I play music with my friends. The worst way that marijuana has affected my life is that I have to go do these classes. Yep. Like that I got caught and now I have to do this. And but with that said, what I found with this channel, not only just from the fact that people are, commenting, telling their stories and stuff, but even the fact that the algorithm has kind of been a little kind to me, shows me that there's a lot of people searching this stuff and that want help and maybe are afraid to, and that feel very alone in it. It's like, you almost feel like if I'm going to tell my friends, oh yeah, I'm not smoking weed right now, it's almost like a joke to them, kind of like, wait, what? Wait, why not? The other day, one of my friends, I told him I wasn't smoking right now, and he literally said, you do this every year, dude. And like, it kind of made me feel bad, but I literally responded to him and was like, yeah, that's exactly the reason I need to quit, because look how many times I've tried and failed. And so yeah, it's good point there.
It's interesting because it is addictive. So someone who, struggled, as we've discussed, on the opiate, front and previously, benzos, all of that. So opiates for bad back injuries, over the years in my 20s. That's why I'm sitting like this, or trying to take some relief off of it. And then benzos just from a mental health perspective. So all prescribed, but still, many years of use and things, and getting off of those. And the withdrawals, especially nowadays with edibles being as strong as they are, everything, since it's legal now, people are manufacturing in a ways that it's the chemical makeup is crazy, right? I'm not a chemist by any means, us on the scientific level, but just understanding and taking it, there is an addiction to it. Sure, it might not, kill you like a Vicodin, an opiate, heroin, any of those, kind of addictions, but it kills you in a different way. And getting off of it, there is still such a big struggle. And, there's others out there, right? We're talking to them right now. We're talking to each other, and we're finding people in our lives now. Because we're very open about it, right? In every setting, work, church, wherever I'm at, at my gym.
We should probably say, we met at a church, which makes this even more so like a unique situation, because like, honestly, like at first there's a lot of us that would smoke together, and like it was kind of almost like like this is such a fun like experience and stuff. But now it's to the point where we're seeing other people, like our one friend is interested in doing this with us, and originally he was going to he said it was his last night, blah blah, and now he's talking about how he needs to taper off because he smokes like 1 gram or 2 of wax a day. And the fact that this non-addictive substance we have to taper off of, or else we go through panic attacks and all. I mean, I physically have had multiple heart episodes every time I quit. And I don't know a lot of times because I have the pacemaker, but it records them. And then when I go to the doctor the next time, they're looking at it and they're like, what was going on the week of such and such? Because you had 3 episodes and you never have episodes like this. Well, it was all the stress of quitting. And like, I know for a lot of people, weed's not good for your heart. For me, it probably also isn't great to smoke and stuff, but because I have the pacemaker, my heart doesn't race when I smoke weed the way other people's would. The pacemaker's pacing it out of that. But that now becomes my baseline. So when I stop, my heart's like, what's going on? Like, why? I need this calm down thing. And for me, like, I almost feel like I'm on Adderall when I stop smoking weed, in the sense of like, my mind is just
answer almost when you stop.
Oh, definitely. When your baseline for years is always being stoned, when you're not, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can do everything feels so easy.
And again, no scientific credentials, but, listening like a Huberman, right? Talk about just the dopamine, right? And you have to that is proven, you have to reset your dopamine levels. And that's, again, for me, weed and nicotine, it's just false dopamine hits every time. So even on that is scientific, right?
Oh, yeah.
And on the anxiety and all that, it's very intensive, but you have to almost relearn how to live too. Right?
Totally.
Because you were used to that addiction. And, this is our first time being together here and not doing it.
Yeah.
And not smoking. And that's a really big deal because, we're relearning friendships in some ways. We're relearning relationships because when you're used to it and feeling like that, it's that new norm.
Totally.
And you're replacing that. It's like a bad breakup almost, right? Or any of that. So, sure, it might not be addictive in the same way as an opiate, as a benzo, as things like that. But there is still a strong addiction and a stronghold on your body and your mind.
Well, and the thing is, there are 0 studies. There's 0 long-term studies on the effect of the weed we have today on our brains. All the long-term studies we have are from the 60s and the 70s, and we know the weed it's a whole different thing now than what we had back then. So I think it's really important to know that we are kind of the test subjects of what the long-term studies will be of all these dabs and distillates and all this stuff. And I'm all for legalization in the sense of, I don't want people to go to jail for smoking a plant, right? Yeah. But when we have it, when it's the fact that I can go to a dispensary and get the strongest stuff possible, I literally will say that when I would go to the dispensary, I just want whatever the strongest pre-roll you have. Yeah. I don't care what it tastes like. I don't care what. All I want is the thing that's going to get me the most messed up for. And you know what? If it's twice the amount of money, I don't care. Like now I care, but like in the moment, you're like, who cares? Like, I want the best stuff you
The
have.
guy at the dispensary who owned it, the one I went to, he told the people anytime I came in to give him a call because he knew what I wanted, and how strong it was. And I was talking to someone earlier today, telling them I was coming on here, and I said, I was consuming 300, 400 plus milligrams of edibles a night. And he's like, what? Like that is intense, right? And I think that's, because it sets a baseline, and each time you go up and up and up. And it's so much more intense than people ever want to admit. I never wanted to admit it. I was one of the biggest proponents for legalizing it.
Totally.
Right? And now I look at it, I'm like, it's probably legalized just so, we can be controlled more, just because we're all high, right? Because, but there is so many elements. It's, it is a drug. Like alcohol is a drug, nicotine obviously is as well, is any of the other scheduled drugs. So there was a reason it was illegal for a long time. And I don't think people should go to jail for it. But, it shouldn't be, at 18, you should be able, or whatever the age is, you shouldn't be able to go buy whatever you want because you don't know, and it affects your mind.
Especially if there's no warnings the same way that, like, if you go to buy cigarettes on the front of the store as you walk in, it says smoking can cause cancer and stuff. Nowhere do they talk about the huge amount of studies we're seeing now that are showing, especially in males, like psychotic breaks and having schizophrenic breaks and all this stuff. I never had anxiety. Like, I did not know what anxiety or depression felt like before I started smoking weed. And it's wild how prevalent it is in my life now. I mean, there's been times in my life where I don't think we're allowed to say the word on YouTube, but I have wanted to unalive myself.
Oh, okay.
And you know what I mean? And so,
it's good to know we can't say that, because I would have fucking
I think
we have not planned this, and I don't know what. This is my first
I just know that I've seen other YouTubers, and that's the word they use so that it doesn't get flagged. But you know what I'm saying, and it's wild how that all went away as soon as I stopped smoking weed last time. Like I still would feel other feelings, but that feeling went so quickly away. And one thing we were talking about, it's fascinating because last time I quit, a year ago when I first started this channel, you ended up quitting because of the influence I had. And then I ended up starting to smoke again, and I was someone that ended up getting you to break your sobriety.
Right? But yes. That's what happened. But at the same time, going just real quick on that mental health element of it, I smoked weed probably, a good portion of high school, not much in college. I went to a Christian college, was surrounded by just such strong people there. One of them is a good friend of ours. There are two of them are good friends of ours today, that I met in college. So I didn't really then. And then I did a little bit right after college, and then didn't for most of my 20s. And it was the best times of my life from a career element. I was able to really grow quickly in my career. I was working 15 hours a day consulting, so that's normal, right? And I was able to rise really quick. And then I started smoking again, utilizing marijuana, I think probably about 28-ish, sometime around there. And just a couple years, I'm 32 now, so a couple years ago. And at that time is when I was diagnosed with, depression, different things like that. And I convinced myself that, it just was manifested later in life. I went through some trauma, nothing. I mean, I know your story. I know you told the channel. It's nothing to that level, but my dad passed when I was young, different things like that. And the other thing is addiction runs in my family. It's very generational for us, cousins, parents, and different things like that. So I kind of just accepted that it was part of my identity in a way, but I convinced myself that, yes, this mental health stuff, whether it's manic depressive, whatever it was just manifested later. It took me till later. I was running the rat race in my 20s. I never had time to focus on it. But what happened at that same time? Using drugs. Now, obviously, again, have some back injuries, so I was prescribed a bunch of stuff and all of that.
That's a whole nother...
played another role into it, but I did, it was more than anything was regularly smoking weed. And when I'm off of it, I'm a different person.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, just the energy I bring. Now, I think we were always high functioning, even when we were high. Now, I was very careful who I was high around in my life. I didn't do it in a workplace. I didn't do it in church. I didn't do it around certain people. Mine was more at home as part of mental health struggles. Yeah. But, high functioning doesn't mean I was optimized. Doesn't mean I was the best version of myself. And so much of that is because of that mental health battle. And I'm excited to see, I remember when last time I stopped. So I stopped for 2 months. In that 2 months, I lost 30 plus pounds. I was at the gym twice a day. I was working constantly, doing a great job, building relationships I didn't have as much.
And you would tell me about how well you were feeling.
Yeah, and I'm excited even in the, the 10 days here. And I didn't start to the same level after that. That was September. I never got back to the same level. There were still some low moments. But it's so cool to see, even in the 10 days, how much positive change has happened. Right?
Totally.
I think like how much I've just been, back to myself. So, sorry, all around there. But yeah, the mental health struggle of it, I think so much of it isn't solved by marijuana. It's exacerbated by marijuana. And no one wants to admit that.
Anytime I hear people saying like, well, weed just helps my anxiety. Yeah, it probably does temporarily. And it's probably also the thing causing your anxiety, because a lot of anxiety comes from withdrawal symptoms. And when we're smoking all the time, really all you're doing is just managing your withdrawal, right? Your micro withdrawal. I haven't smoked in 5 hours and I'm starting to come down, and all I need to do is smoke again and it brings it back up. And now that we have pens and everything like that, well, people can just all day, every day. And as you build up a tolerance, you don't even think about it as much. But there's still the same amount of chemicals and all of that stuff going through your brain that would, like, my wife, okay, so my wife's a perfect example because she is the opposite of me. We will smoke together and stuff, and then she could not think about it again until I ask her to smoke. And like, it is a completely different thing for her. She is not addicted to it. Since I quit 10 years, she's never once even mentioned it. And, it doesn't bother her like that. She doesn't struggle with addiction like that. But it's so interesting how the same chemical, the same exact thing, grasps me. Like, if I've made this 10 days, and if I were to smoke tomorrow, maybe I could slip up once if I called you or someone else right away and told them. And if I didn't, within a week, I would be smoking all the time, 100%.
Yeah, how addiction works, and I mentioned the generational, whatever it is, something's in certain people to be more addicted than others.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, I'm pretty sure, some sort of proven fact.
Oh,
right?
definitely.
So it is interesting, at least with marijuana, whatever the drug is. Some people can just stop. With alcohol, I can go have a drink and I don't want to drink again.
Right?
It's
exactly
just different. And I'm not like, if you're struggling with alcohol, stop that. Just like we're stopping weed, just like I'm stopping nicotine. Stop that. But it's weird how certain things, some it's gambling, some it's pornography, some it's everything, right? I struggle with a lot of different addictions. Yeah. But a lot of it is a varying degree, it is varying degrees. And it's just, it's amazing how, the mind works. And I think so much of this is being honest with yourself and being honest with others. And I think that's what you and I are doing differently this time, is we're being very open about it. I'm telling everyone around me. There is no shame in it. And that's what we need to do in order to not start smoking again. Because now, if we start smoking again, all the people we told are going to have the realization or notice that we're smoking again, or notice something's different about us. And I think even more so, like you mentioned, we met in the church, right? At a church. Now, we had a connection that goes back like 15 years, which is still crazy. We were in a band with someone, but... And let me, on that point, because I wanted to bring it, when you knew him, he didn't smoke at all, right? No. Not much. And when I knew him, he was the friend I had that smoked the most, and I didn't smoke much. And I was in a touring band with him. I love this guy to death. He's one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. But we smoked together all day, every day. We were in Colorado when it was first legal. We were in Washington when it was first legal. It was exciting. We were in our early 20s, right? But at some point between when you knew him and when I knew him, he had picked that up, So it's just fascinating how that all comes together. Yeah. That was a long time ago for me. I mean, we knew each other, 17 years ago we were in a band. It's cool because we met the first day at church and you were like, oh, I was in this touring band. I'm like, oh, wait, do you know this guy? And it was a band. I'm from Pittsburgh. He's from Delaware. And, we put it together right away that we knew the same person. We happened to be in the same band. Yeah, but on the church point, like I'm realizing, like, first off, no one should be judging in a church setting or any sort of setting like that. And no one is, right? Yeah. And everyone's struggling with something. with something. So talk about it. If you go to a church and they're judging you, don't go to that church anymore. If you're in a friend group and they're judging you, don't be in that friend group. Detaching from that is going to help you as well. And being a part of a group that's going to support you. You know, my pastor is the one who I went to college with, him and his wife. They're brother and sister to me, truly. I mean, but
they're not actually brother and sister.
No, sorry. But no, they're in my mind, right? They are as close as I had to any family. I had a brother that passed away, but they feel, that is who they are to me. They've never judged, right? If anything, they uplift that as someone, he's struggling. Let's talk about it, right? Let's, help others through that, right? I mean, our church is awesome because there is, so based in, so many people with addictions and stuff, and they're open, there's groups for it.
There's a big foundation that is all about recovery that is based through our church. And that's actually one of the things that got me to be sober this time was I was there just running tech stuff, and it was for an event, and there was 600 people almost that had all been addicts, that all had been on different drugs, all were in different walks of life. And you could see some of them had very rough addictions, and other looked like sweet old men. You can't even imagine that they had to have gone through these things. But how many of them didn't see their families for years? How many of them had been in jail before because of their addictions? And here they are sitting with their families and all together in this community. And I'm just watching it, and I'm high. I'm high while I'm watching it. And I'm sitting there thinking wow, every person in this room has more strength than I do. But I'm very high functioning. I'm able to do all of my work, and that's what makes it very hard to quit sometimes when you are able to do what you're supposed to do while being high.
And I've been telling family recently about this, and that's the one group I've never really been open to. My family has always, there is a lot of addiction, a lot of people in and out of jail, different things like that. They've looked at me as the one who broke it, and I was embarrassed, right? And a lot of that pressure is why I ended up falling into addiction. But I've been telling them, whether it was nicotine, I chewed since I was 15, right? So 17 years or something crazy, off and on, pretty consistent the last 5-10. And I was telling my aunt, who I'm very, very close with, she was like, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. So you told me recently, but
it's not something I ever, showed. And if we didn't smoke weed together, you wouldn't have known that then either, right?
I don't know do you remember the first time? I don't remember how we...
I don't know. I don't know. There's another guy, I think might have broached that subject with us.
Maybe that's but I don't... That's always the hard thing at church is how do you bring up finding out if somebody...
Yeah, I'm not sure how we figured. I think we just realized, we were both searching for different things. We were searching in all the wrong places. And, I'm not... If you don't believe in God, if you don't, I think believe in something, have something, some sort of base, but we'll never... this isn't a judgment to that. But, I was searching for all the wrong things. And I think we probably brought each other down in that way, right? Now, we were always friendly and, good to each other. And we always called each other and we needed to talk, especially mental health, right? You helped me a ton through that, even through smoking together and things like that. But in a way, I was probably bringing you down and vice versa. In many ways, we've never want to admit it, which is, crazy. But it's hiding it isn't the way to go either. So I think, reach out to people and have someone to be accountable. I always jokingly, I'm a big South Park fan. You're my accountability buddy, right? To go to that term, but having someone who's gonna. I mean, we've talked how many hours a day since this started. We've always talked a lot, but every day we're checking in with each other. Have someone, if it's church, if it's family, friends. Have someone,
even if it's this channel, that's the thing for me. It's if I didn't have this channel, and I'm calling it the channel, but it's the people that are sharing their stories on the community. And I probably would not still be sober. There's no way I would have made it 10 days unless I was in AA or MA and that's what I think is one of the positives about those things is the community aspect that people get from that. And the opposite. I heard a phrase recently: the opposite of addiction is community. And I really do believe that when you're surrounded by people who love you and you're surrounded with love, that is what's able to fill that hole.
And that's where my addiction really was the worst, is I would seclude myself. I would pull away. whether it was not wanting to go to a show of yours, whether it was not wanting to go to the gym, hanging out with my pastor, his wife, and the kids, right? Who were
well, because you have to make the decision of like
sit at home and get high and be by myself and be depressed and just sit there and drool over myself and play video games for 12 hours. How much time did I miss in people's lives? That's
exactly when we do gigs. Every break in between the sets, I go to the van and I just get really, really high until it's time to play again, and I go, oh, it's time to play, blah, blah, blah. How many people could I have met over the years and talked to that it would, not only just from like a friendship standpoint, but it would have been better for my band, right? They would have come back to more shows if I had made that personal connection instead of disappearing. And looking back, I think one of the biggest struggles my band has had is that we all just disappear on the breaks instead of making those connections. And there's people that come out to my gigs that they got a babysitter that night. Maybe this is their first time being able to go out in 6 months and they're so excited to finally be able to do it. And I'll never know because I'm just disappearing and going
There's
and
so
getting
many
high.
people, someone who has been to a few of those with you and who has sat in the van and smoked with you at those events. It's interesting because so many of those individuals who are going there, that's their almost therapy.
Totally. Totally.
To them to be there in a part of that, especially the karaoke, right? And being
it's a weekly thing. It's the same thing every week. It's almost like a functions as like a church for some people in the sense that it's the same people there every week. The only thing everybody has in common is this one thing, and it's that they like to sing or whatever. You know what I mean? But it's that community aspect that a lot of people get from church.
Yeah, and I think, again, seeing it, how many people want to talk to you too. You're a very uplifting person, whether you're high or not. You are your energy is radiant, and a lot of people, soak that in. And I think, seeing you now and seeing you this past Sunday, having the opportunity to be there, you still shone that same way, if not more, and you were more there, right?
I was much more present. I can play the
just as much fun. I know how nervous you were going into it, but you had an awesome time. Right?
Totally.
And I was watching you with those conversations. I'm the opposite. I don't like talking to people at all, whether I'm high or not. But it was really a pleasure to see that because, even if you weren't high, it was still a lovely time, and you were still even more engaged with people and helping them.
Well, that is a testament to you too, because I was having a panic attack all day about that, and you surprised me and came and said I didn't have to be the only person.
Well, I wanted to surprise you and just show up, but you called me and you weren't in the greatest headspace. I'm like, hey, I'm coming. And credit to two of our friends who convinced me or pushed me to go. Right? Mm-hmm. I had to get up early for work. Right? I'm very adamant. I like going to bed early. They're like, you should go. Right? You should be a part of that. Yeah. And credit to them. And some of the friends I have that are still struggling with addiction, they're still supportive.
Yeah.
And that's really cool to see.
Well, that was what was cool so on the break, we still all went to the van, all the same people that would normally smoke, and they're all still smoking other than the two of us, but none of them did. None of them even asked about it or anything. And instead, for the whole 30 minutes, we just all talked. We talked a lot about this addiction
and
stuff.
They hit their vape pens, so they weren't, secondhand smoking us, which was awesome. It was funny because when you were warming up, they wanted to share some music, right? Where I'm in just joined a band with two of them. And, we've been collaborating on stuff and talking about it. And one of the other guys, they just wanted to show some of the music they've recorded. And it was funny because I walked out with them right as I got there. And I said, and I'm like, Aaron's going to think I broke. Because we walked out in the same way. Yeah. And I came back to you. I'm like, no, we stayed strong. And they never once, it's quite the opposite. Even if they smoked, and the one didn't that night because he wanted to support us. Mm-hmm. But even if they still do, they would be mad at us if we did. Yeah. And that's good friendship.
Oh,
that's
totally
really cool. And that's a community, even though it's probably not the best because we're still around it, they're still a great community because they wouldn't try to get us involved in it.
Totally. And it's a complete opposite reaction of what my other friend said when he was like, oh, you do this every year. Like, that made me feel like a failure for a second. You know what I mean? But then instead of being like, yeah, you're right. Like, what is this just going to be? Like, I'm going to hit my 1 year and then immediately go back to it and then have to quit again. But instead, just by saying, yeah, and that's the whole reason I need to do this. Like, that's why I need to try to stick with it because obviously it's a struggle. And one thing to go back to, like, the family thing you were talking about, my mom has never smoked or drank or done anything in her entire life. She has been 100% straight edge sober her entire life. She accidentally had a non-virgin drink once in college.
She didn't drink?
She's never done anything.
Wow.
Like, when I say it's complete, she's never done anything. My dad was apparently a pretty heavy addict before I was born, but from the time I was born to the time that my nephew was born, so from the time he became a father to the time he became a grandfather, he didn't smoke or drink anything. So, but they also never talked about it. So in my mind, I genuinely went a long time thinking addiction doesn't run in my family. I could drink and it's not going to be a problem. I could smoke, it's not going to be a problem. And that could have been farther from the truth, right? I didn't think about the fact that all my grandparents died from lung cancer, or the fact that, like, you know, my grandmother drank, or like any of those things, because I didn't really know about it. And so one thing that, you know, I hope that by the time my daughter is an adult, that I can be incredibly transparent with her and let her know that, hey, look, weed is awesome. It feels great. You're having so much fun, and it's great until it isn't. And a lot of people aren't going to tell you about the isn't part. Now, I don't know, but she's so young right now. By the time she is that age, there might be a completely different thought about weed. We might have some of these longer term studies. There might be like some of that stuff, but there's no way to know right now. But it used to be when...
Isn't that what you said the other day? We are the trial.
Yeah, exactly. But it was wild because when she was first born, my mindset was, well, when she gets older and she's ready to smoke, I want to make sure that she smokes with me for the first time. So it's not that she's at a party. It's not that she's here, you know, in a bad situation, something that's laced. And I think that there's some credit to that if I was not an addict with it as well, you know. But instead now it's more, I just want to be completely transparent with her and let her know, you know, it's weird because looking back, I do think that I needed to start smoking weed. I think that I needed it in my life in the sense of it changed me as a person for the better at first. I had never done, before I smoked weed, I had never done anything like that. And I didn't start smoking weed till I was 23 or 24. So I started very late in life, and it allowed me to see myself from an outside perspective more, not just weed. You know, I was also doing, you know, some like mushrooms type things like that. And those situations have formed me into the person I am now. I'm much calmer. I'm much more empathetic to people. You know, and I think also in the long run, going through addiction is a new, not superpower, but a new thing that I can empathize with. Knowing what it feels like to want to unalive yourself is something that before I couldn't have like known what that feels like, and now I do. And I think that that's going to be a positive in the long run. It
helps with empathy, because I was the same way, you know, before I fell. And, you know, I've had some unalive attempts as well, as you know about, or we were friends during those times. I've had some OD times where I've been in the hospital back in the day before. But, you know, during those unalive attempts, like, without those, I don't think I'd really be able to understand the people who deal with mental health problems. Now, I think I do have a lot of guilt, and if there's any therapists watching this, you can analyze me here, but I think I do have a lot of guilt because I was the first of my friends to get involved, and I caused a lot of them. So I started pretty young, I think about 15-ish. So my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer when I was 15, my first week of high school. My dad was an addict his whole life, cocaine before I was born, and then marijuana heavily throughout my whole life. I didn't know about it until he was diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer. He was going to die in a year, 6 months. He ended up living a year. He was my best friend. It was very hard. But when I first saw and was really, understood what marijuana was he had it in his car, right? And then, you know, I started using it after. But unfortunately, you know, as I said, I was the first one. A lot of my friends started after me. We would do it together. You know, it being a musician, you know, a lot of times together. The one friend of mine had a bad trip. I think we were 19, and obviously I wasn't with him at this time, and it wasn't a marijuana thing, it was something else. But again, being a gateway drug, he jumped out of a window, he died. Another friend who I remember the first time he smoked, we were together. He was just messed up, you know, drugs, alcohol combo. I think it was weed and alcohol. Stumbled out into the road, got hit by a car, brain damage, is barely functioning still to this day. So I do feel some guilt for that. So I wish I never would have started from that degree, because I will harbor that forever. Yeah. Right. And I know, you know, how much better of a human and how more there I am for people when I'm not like it. But at the same time, you know, I'm not someone who lives in regret. I don't regret everything. There's a purpose. You're building towards something, right? Totally. Whatever that is, your destiny, whatever in life, you know, your calling per se. And I think now being able to empathize and talk to so many people, you know, when I'm on the road, I'm a consultant, like I said, I work with, you know, high net worth individuals, different things like that. And I talk openly about it, both, you know, from the faith basis, but also just from a, you know, mental health and addiction basis. And everyone's struggling with something. And a lot of people are willing to talk about it. They don't have anyone to. or they don't have the comfort until you bring it up.
Yeah.
So now that I faced it, I'm able to jump in and get that conversation going. And there's something really special about building genuine relationships. I hate everyone's transactional nowadays. Life's too short.
Yeah.
Life's too short. Let's be real with each other. And now I can be, because I've learned those things.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's just a wild time that we're living in, when there's so many people out there that so like when I'm at my gigs, right? Some of the people that I've done so many shots with, or I've smoked weed with, or any of that stuff, I'm now sober. And this last week when I was there, I couldn't get out of the thought of like, how many of these people are going to be where I am in a couple years of like needing to quit. And for them, a lot of times it's way worse, right? They're addicted to alcohol and they drink every day. I have multiple friends that I know of that I think would have to go to a detox program if they stopped drinking. Now, I'm lucky enough that I don't have to go to a detox program, but I was able to create my own, right? I took an entire first week off of work and didn't answer the phone for anyone. I made these videos every day. I had to be away because I was freaking out about the tiniest little things.
We would talk through it.
Yeah. And my poor mom, she does not know about this right now. And so to her, she just thinks I'm having a mental breakdown out of nowhere. And today she actually brought me information about a therapist. And I was like, thanks, Mom. I appreciate it. Like, I don't really need that right now. And like, because she doesn't know that like, I'm going to be so much better even 2 weeks from now. Like, it's not that I don't think I need a therapist, but I do think that I know that each day I'm going to get better and better, because that's what happened last year. You know what I mean? And I know that most of my problems, I know what the problem is. It's not, I don't need somebody else to tell me the problem is. The problem is that I'm smoking way too much weed and I'm addicted to it and it's fucking with my brain.
Yeah, I think traditional therapy, traditional support groups, it doesn't work for me. It actually pushes me back to it in a weird way, and we don't need to go into details there, but what we're doing now is the non-traditional way of it.
Yeah.
We are each other's, I don't say therapists, there's no doctor, but we're talking through these issues in real time with real world examples and solutions. Mm-hmm. And that's cool, right? Hopefully, this channel, even for me, even though I know you, has been a therapy. I watch it every night before I go to bed. And hopefully, for everyone on here, something sticks, right? I see all the comments you get, and something will stick with them and can be a point of therapy, because it's not for everyone. Mm-hmm. But, having this, my mom, I'm very open with. I've told her pretty much everything in my life. It's the relationship we now have. We didn't always have that. She is my best friend, and she's been supportive. I had to apologize because I'm definitely talking a lot more, and I just call her at random times. I have all this energy, and sorry, as I'm rambling here. But
she's probably so happy to hear from
she is, and everyone is. Everyone's supportive, mm-hmm. And again, everyone is struggling. She struggles with others. She doesn't have addictions, but she struggles with different things. Everyone struggles. Mm-hmm. Everyone is struggling with something, whether they want to admit it or not. Mm-hmm. And for you and I, we didn't admit that truly for a long time.
Totally. If anything, we would say that the weed was not the struggle. The weed is like the solution to the other struggles. And that's a lie we tell ourselves so that we can keep smoking, because it feels really, really good. And you know what? And here's the thing. I do, like I said, like with my wife, she's somebody that can smoke every once in a while, and she has a good night and she sleeps good, and then that's it, and she doesn't need to smoke again till who knows how long. And there are people out there, and so knowing that, I think that, obviously I think that's why, weed could be good for some people, but I don't think we're honest about it right now. When people say weed's not a gateway drug, well, it can be a gateway drug. It's not black and white like that. It's not that
there's more nuance. No one wants nuance.
Yeah. It's not that I'm going to smoke weed and automatically go smoke heroin. But there's definitely a lot of people that started with weed and eventually got to heroin.
I want to hit on the sleep point, though, because, I think there's someone in your comments talked about they wore their Whoop band, things like that. And I
saw the difference,
I track my stuff very meticulously. Yeah. I gained a lot of weight and had to cut that back. I do martial arts, I fight, things like that. So I have to be very meticulous in that. Sure, you might fall asleep right away when you're high. You might sleep all night. You might think you're sleeping better. You're not. You don't get REM sleep. Yep. It's not real.
You don't dream? I haven't dreamt barely in 10 years.
I wake up every day by 6 o'clock, ready to go. What have I changed? weed and nicotine.
Well,
Nothing really else.
you changed yesterday. You said something to me about that. You just have to get up at 6 no matter what. And you said you're going to be tired either way. So
but my body is ready, right? I might want to. So like the night I went to your show, right? I didn't get to bed till 2.
Yeah.
I woke up at 5:36. I still woke up.
Mm-hmm.
That was, you know what I did? I laid in bed all morning, fell back asleep. It was terrible for me.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, I still didn't go back to sleep. So I told you I had the manic, I need to do my budget.
Yeah.
At like midnight, right? And started doing personal budgeting, house stuff. And then I woke up at 6 and got right out of bed. And I was ready to go and attack the day. But my body is waking me up then. And it's a different, yes, I might still feel tired, but it's different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel that same level of grogginess.
Yeah. Well, so I took your advice, and today I set an alarm, and I had been, because I wasn't sleeping well, right? I'm not sleeping good because of the weed stuff, not being on weed. And I have a daughter, she gets up every day at 8. She has like a alarm thing that it changes colors, and she knows that's when she's allowed to leave her room. And so I'm staying in bed until the last possible minute, right? And then it's 8 o'clock, I'm rolling out of bed, and then I'm having panic attacks because I need to immediately be in dad mode, but I barely slept, and blah, blah, blah. So last night I set my alarm at 6, and today was the first day I had zero anxiety or issues all day. I got up at 6, I came down and I meditated for 20 minutes, and then I got all the stuff done I needed to do. By the time she was up at 8, I had already done everything that I wanted to do in the morning, and I literally was at her door when she got up, excited to see her. And then we went, me, my wife, and my daughter, we all went to the gym together, and because they have childcare there and stuff. And we went at 8:30, and by 10 o'clock, I've already done all the things that I needed to do to get myself in a good headspace. I read, we're both going to start reading, it's called Recovery by Russell Brand, and I read the beginning of that. I've read the book before, but only I was high as crap. While reading it, I didn't think I had a problem with weed at that point. I was reading it more for like addictions to social media and like stuff like that. And because the book really talks about like the addictions that we don't realize we have, like, addictions to friendships or addictions to relationships or sex or like all these different things. And all the ones we don't normally think about, So reading that today, I was sending you guys quotes and stuff from it, and I highlighted a bunch of things, and it's just like, okay, I needed that, and now I felt so much better all day. Like, all day, it's been a great day. And so you just giving me that little bit of advice last night changed my whole day.
And I would encourage people, who have gotten this far of us talking. I know it's one of your first longer form videos, but share tips, because I think we're all searching, right? So in the comments, whatever it is, let's share those. I know we're going to continue to do more videos throughout this year, but continue to share the tips. What worked, what hasn't, right? Because we are in it together. Totally. Quitting together, right? That's the name. And I think you hit on the social media addiction. We can make a whole nother video, because both you and I cut that out last year, and oh gosh, that again, dopamine, all that, it really has changed my life. So just doom scrolling Twitter for 10 hours a day, whatever that was. I got rid of almost all of social outside of like a private Instagram to document my travels. But people don't even realize it's an addiction, and it's one of the worst.
And it's the addiction that everyone is addicted to.
And it creates this... People only put their happiest moments
on
or what they think are their happiest, when they were probably really...
And it's filtered, too. They have filters on.
Everything is fake, right? And it makes you strive to be that, something that is unrealistic, which is just the worst type of addiction, right? And you just keep going deeper and deeper, and you try to, do that, and you make mistakes. So that's a whole nother.
Totally.
Oh gosh, we could do it hours.
Totally. This is the only social media I have right now at all. Is this YouTube channel, and it's cool because now anytime I am on my phone reading comments and stuff, it's all positive, and it's all building a community, and that never happens on your regular social media. It's literally, even in my feed, because I only am in this addiction stuff, if I'm on YouTube, the only videos that come up for me are addiction videos or other people talking about stuff. It gives me ideas. It gives me, and so that's so different than a different YouTube channel that I have. Not a channel that like I put any videos on, but just, the one where you have a YouTube account so you can watch videos and stuff. That one was full of all the political stuff and all the, right-wing politics or left-wing politics, or like all these videos that's just feeding me that are garbage and making me feel bad. Or like I got really into for a while like watching like the predator hunters or like the pedophile catchers and stuff like that. If you've seen them on YouTube, where like like Chris Hansen type stuff. And how bad is that for my brain? Like I think it's good to know that sickness is out there, and like especially as a father and stuff. But watching that all the time, it was just rotting my brain.
After I deleted Twitter about a year-ish ago, I think when Elon took over, right, a couple months after, because it was around WrestleMania, weirdly enough, because I'm not a huge WWE fan, but I'll like tune into big events, and I remember it kept blocking because they were trying to like quit bots or something weird, right? But ever since then, the algorithm is just horrid. I listen to some podcasts on like Barstool, right? And they're always laughing about it because anytime you go on there, it's like just murder. Like they will show murder straight up. People.
Joe Rogan talks about that too.
People who are what was the word for ending them, whatever. I forget what you said.
Unaliving.
Unaliving them. So you see that all the time.
Yep.
You see like legitimate murders, things like that. Things your brain shouldn't see that openly.
That we never evolved to see
watch that.
Yeah.
I've never wanted to seek that out. I mean, people, when we were growing up, it was all about, video games, it's gonna, Grand Theft Auto, blah, 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 Call of Duty, it's gonna mess up with their brains. Then you go on social and you can see it live.
You can see it for real.
That all the time.
Yep.
Real, not a video game character.
Yep.
And that's just out in the open.
Not even to mention like with the wars that are going on in the world right now, you can watch literally a live stream of war. That's never happened in the history of human existence.
And you're not even seeking it out.
It's
because you have it.
Yep.
So for social media fasts, different things like that, it's worth it, because what that does to your head, that's a drug in and of itself. But.
Well, and that's like with that too is all the sex addiction and the huge amounts of porn addiction. One cool thing I can say about myself is I have a lot of problems and a lot of addictions, but porn is not one of them for me. And it was at one point, in the sense that when I was younger, it really, really went out the window when I had a daughter, because now the thought of that is like, even if someone seems like they're loving that, or if you're a porn star and you're like, blah, blah, what happened in someone's life that took them from being a little innocent infant, and then life happened to them, and now that is what has brought them either joy or what they have to do. And I would even convince myself when I was younger, I'd be like at first I'd be like, oh man, their family's probably so sad that they're doing this. And I'd be like, oh, well, if they're doing this, they probably don't have a family. But now I look at that like, well, that's even sadder.
Yeah, why did they push away from that? And it's so normalized now. All of that. As a 32-year-old single guy, obviously, that's a struggle for anyone, probably in my situation, to some degrees. I think at some points in my life, it definitely, took over my life, took a hold. But you're right, it's disturbing, and supporting any of that is just difficult. Just like if I offered you a joint right now, it's not much different. You're still supporting different elements
totally
of what people are doing. But social media, marijuana, nicotine, alcohol, whatever it is, addiction's addiction, gambling. Nowadays gambling's illegal. Is legal. Everywhere. I can pull out my phone right now, do it my bets, right?
Yeah.
And that's just crazy, right? There's so many people it ruins lives.
Totally.
Completely. And it's not just ruins your
because
lives,
they win big once, and then it forms that little neural pathway.
Which is all they want to do. Even like I play FIFA, right? Soccer. Or EAFC it's called. Because they lost the rights from FIFA. But every single thing about it is microtransactions.
Yep.
They'll give you one good card just so you keep, and a lot of people spend real money on it.
Yeah. But you remember when we were little, you'd play a sports game, you buy the game.
And that's it. Nowadays, you have your credit card link, you can just keep buying packs, right? Same with on your phone, doing bets. It was one thing when you had to go up to the table at the, at the casino and put in a bet.
Totally.
I hated doing that because I was nervous that I was going to mess it up and then judge you. But it's so weird.
It's the same exact thing with porn. Like when I first turned 18, I remember I went to, it was either Blockbuster or something like that, and I was so nervous, but I went to the back room with the curtain and everything, and I was browsing through and I picked one that was the least crazy because I knew I had to check it out. You had to do all, there was safeguards to it. You couldn't just unlimited watch anything that you can imagine. You can watch instantly.
Whatever you want to do. Right your finger on your phone.
You could watch porn nonstop for the rest of your life and you would never be able to watch all of it. Never. In 1,000 lifetimes. But it's almost like we removed all the safeguards. We removed the, and before it was Blockbuster, it was you had to have, your dad would go to get a magazine or something like that. And it's almost like, I wish that's still the way it was, right? Because then there's not this unlimited rampant here's a perfect example. I have a friend who does OnlyFans, and she talks about it all the time. I don't know much about her other than that she always talks about it, and she goes to our karaoke gig. And at Christmas time this year, she had made a post about how she hates Christmas because Christmas is for people with families, and she's never had a family. And it immediately was like, oh, the most broken person I know, the person I know that doesn't have any family and hasn't since she was a child, is the person I know that is the most obsessed with needing that adoration from others in a way that 10 years from now is she going to regret it, or 10 years from now is she going to wish she hadn't, or what happens if the money stops coming in and now there's, and again, I'm not ashamed, whatever
adoration of others. I mean, it goes back to the social media point.
Yep.
I think so. Now I only post, again, travel stuff. It's one because my family wants to. It's my way of sending pictures, but and it's because they know I'm safe because I do a lot of international travel. But for so long, it was just so someone how many likes would you get, right? What are we doing?
Yep.
What has our brain been trained to do that sort of adoration is fulfilling? It's not.
Mm-hmm.
Just getting high is not really fulfilling.
Totally.
Just getting drunk.
It's temporarily fulfilling.
Really fulfilling.
Yeah.
Again, it's the Huberman dopamine spiel, and that was life changing. I mean, listening again, it's so funny because I learned you were a Huberman guy before. We never.
And my mom is into him now.
Really? So I didn't even know who he was. I was listening to it was a podcast on Barstool, a new Untold Story it's called, and it's just these guys shooting the shit. Right? They are out of Wheeling, West Virginia, is where they're from originally. It's not far from where I was, and I just find them hilarious. And this one guy, he made a bit out of it. He went all in on the Huberman stuff, right? And it was cutting everything. He made it a comedic act, and I kind of but it changed my life listening to that, doing it as comedy. I realized the social media, I realized getting sunlight, being around people, the false dopamine, all of that, it's real. Even though I learned it from a comedy podcast and then I got into humor, it's it is so real. And then we always fall back into it. Why is that? Why do we fall? Why do you fall back into weed? Why do you fall back into social porn, alcohol?
Totally.
I don't know. Because it's freeing. We've like we said, we've quit before and we know how we feel.
Yep.
It's crazy to fall back into it.
But it's because for us it has to be that all or nothing thing. And so we could be really high and think, it's gonna be way better if I don't, but then I'm gonna have to go through the detox again and I'm gonna have to and I'm just too stressed right now, and honestly I just really like it and
yeah. Or it's gonna help me. It's the thing that's going to get me out, because everyone has down periods. You're going to get it whether you're high or not. Yep. It's just, and I use it as the crutch.
So here's an interesting thing, right? For me, I've been saying so much, for me, I make 100% of my income is made off of being creative, right? Whether it's my band or my lessons or even the church I work at, my title is the creative director, right? It's in the title. And weed makes me really creative in the moment, right? I can smoke and then sit down and I have music feels better, all of that stuff. And I was really nervous about not being able to be creative. But yesterday, I think I wrote possibly one of the best songs I've ever written in my life. And on no drugs, completely sober. And I needed that to show me that oh, no, you can absolutely do this. And if anything, you can do this better because you're not taking all these smoking breaks in between and you're, you know what I mean? So
you're higher functioning in a way.
Totally.
I'm the opposite. I'm not creative at all when I smoke or use drugs. I just become a recluse.
Totally.
Like now, I told you, like I've joined a band now with a couple of our friends, right? A metal band, and like I never would have done that.
Yeah.
But it is weird. You do have to relearn certain things, right? Like I still like playing video games, but I have to relearn what that's like, not being stoned off my ass, right? And there's different elements of things you have to relearn. And I think, that's why I really wanted to be there to support you, like for your show. Because in a way you were nervous because you have to relearn it in a way, right? Relearn to enjoy doing it sober.
And I was afraid that I was going to break. I was not that I thought that I really would, but if there was a time I would. What it would have taken is if I were outside and no one, like if you weren't there or like the other people, like nobody that knew was around, and somebody happened to be smoking a joint over there and I was talking to them and they passed it to me, how easy would it be for me to just go, pass it on. None of them know I've quit yet, right? They know me, but they don't know me this personally. And because that happened last time when I was at the 6 months and everything, like I'd smoked maybe once or twice here. And then as soon as I got back to karaoke, it was like, I'm going to just get really, really stoned with these people. And I found myself looking forward to being able to smoke with them again. And, I don't know. I
remember the last time I quit, I said I'm going to do it for my goal is to pass a drug test, right? So I wanted to do it for at least a month, and I set my birthday, Labor Day weekend, right? And I told you, like I'm going to make it to this, then I'm going to do it one day. Remember that? Mm-hmm. It did not happen in one day. But I was the same.
I told you, I was like, it's your birthday.
One time, but it was funny. It was the same thing. Looking forward to it, then, right? I was counting down to that day. You know what's different this time? I'm looking forward to the next day being sober.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to saying in a month I'm sober. I'm looking forward to saying next year I did it. And for, like you said, you say in all your videos, or a lifetime, right?
Hopefully a lifetime, but it's hard to commit to that.
But that's the goal, right? And I'm motivated by like those kind of things, right? That's why I like video games. That's why I like in my career, moving up, things like that. That excites me.
Yeah.
I've almost gamified it in a way.
Yeah.
It's sobriety. And my goal is not to make it to this point to smoke again.
Yeah.
Or to use tobacco again, or to whatever it is. My goal is to make it forever, to be the best me I can be, whether it's hard or not.
Totally.
And to support you, and to support others in it who are in the same situation.
There's a really unique quote. There's a little kids show called Bluey, and it's
we can watch it later.
Any of you who have kids, you would know what I'm talking about. But there's a line that it's a kids show that's written for parents. I mean, there's so many good life lessons in it. My wife and I love watching it, and lots of parents love it. But at one point, the dad is getting really frustrated, and he says to his wife, "How do you not get frustrated when all this stuff happens?" And she said, "I've taught myself to enjoy solving problems. So now when any struggle arises, it's just a problem that I get to solve."
It's funny. And
how cool is that? Like
in my career, I am a problem solver. That's what I do. I solve problems for people, and I wasn't for myself.
Yeah, totally.
And isn't that odd?
Totally.
And the other thing, just to say, so you brought up, if you have kids, you would know this show, right? And for me, we're different in that way. I am single. I do not have kids in my 30s, and I'm sure a lot of people are like that out there, and they're doing it solely alone. They, go home every night and they're lonely, and they think that's wrong because we live in a world. It's not as much anymore, but a lot of times it's you should have the nuclear family, things like that. And you know what? It's okay wherever you are. Be who you are, and do it for yourself.
Oh, totally.
Not just others. And I just wanted to speak to that because, sometimes I feel like an oddball. And I think, the majority of my surroundings, especially here, I'm not from here originally. I moved here to be, a part of this church and support my friends in that endeavor. And I feel alone a lot of the times, right? To go back to the family thing. Like I was at my lowest, what's the term again?
Unaliving.
Sorry, I don't want to say it and get us banned. You're doing too much good work, but the closest I ever was to unaliving myself was Christmas of last year. Right? I'm very open in talking about it. It was,
and I didn't know. I never saw you, but I was with you.
Family, and they ended up. I told them later that day, but there was one thing someone at our church said that triggered me and got me to that moment. I was feeling alone, and I felt out of place. Who am I to be there? I'm impeding on this family. I love them. I knew they loved me, but I'm impeding on something that is not mine. I'm impeding on my friends. So many times I struggle to want to call you because I know you're with your family, right, or others, but it's okay to be alone. It's, you know, not everyone is made. Some people are made to be single, and that's okay. You know, who knows what happened? I'm still young enough, but, you know, I encourage people out there. I'm sure there's a lot of you, even if you are alone, do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Keep it to yourself. Build other sorts of community.
Yeah.
Because it is hard. It's hard to go at this alone. It's hard to, you know, have not found that love or whatever it is. But don't use that as a crutch either. So.
Well, and as someone that is married, one advice I always tell everybody is if you are still single and stuff, enjoy it while you're doing it, because when I went on my first date with my wife, I had no idea that was going to be the last first date of my life. I had no idea that I would go on that date and I would never kiss another girl again. That I would go on that date and that everything would change. And sometimes it can happen in a moment, right? Like like one day you're a single dude and then you just happen to have a date with somebody and it goes well. And now that's the person you're with the rest of your life, and you never know when that's going to happen. So, and there's also no going back once it does happen. Not that I would ever want to, you know what I mean? I love my wife to death. But my point with that is don't feel like you have to find that person.
I've watched so many people rush to, and oh my goodness.
Oh,
like,
if I had married any of the other people that I had dated long-term before my wife.
And like I'm so blessed because, you know, in not doing that, I've gotten to see the world. You know, I've lived in multiple countries for multiple months, things like that I never would have done.
And you've been able to build a good career for yourself and stuff.
Yeah, so there are a lot of good things, and I want to encourage people because damn, it's hard sometimes.
Totally.
And you know, on that Sunday, or was it Sunday? Whenever it was that, yeah, it was a Sunday. I think it was Christmas. It was a Sunday that year, last year. It was really hard. And, you know, someone, again, said something in a video just passively. And you never know what someone's dealing with. And I encourage people that too.
Yeah.
You never know if you're going to be the last thing that triggers them. And this individual doesn't even know this. But... and
we're friends with this individual now. Like,
yeah, and I was just so hurting because I didn't have that. But you are loved and you are supported. And, you know, reach out to either of us. You know, if anyone ever wants to talk, I'm happy to do that separately. You know, you have my number. If anyone DMs, whatever that is.
I don't know if that's available on YouTube. I keep trying to figure it out.
Oh, okay.
I think maybe you can. I don't know.
Reach out. I mean, we'll find a way to make it.
If somebody can let me know how to DM.
I don't know. Again, I'm not really on. I don't even think I have a YouTube account. Just my Gmail. I don't even have it logged in on my. I'm a privacy nerd too, so I try not to have any tracking. But please reach out. You know, we can be that person, and I'm always happy to talk and just love on people because they always have that support. You know, and if your friend that was on OnlyFans, whatever it is, you know, life's hard. Life's hard.
Totally.
No matter what.
There's also there's Marijuana Anonymous. They have meetings in person, but it's also online. All day, every day. At any point you can go on and there will be some online meeting that you can go to. And for me, this time I have not been going to that because I have found my community here and stuff. But if I did not have this, that's where I would be. And when I went last time, I really enjoyed it. The biggest problem I had was the time commitment for me at that point was, you know, having an hour and a half to be able to do it. But you can have it on in the background. You can do tons of things with it, and being able to share your story and hear that you're not alone I think is incredibly important.
And this is the last point. Yeah. I don't know if you have other stuff, but at least for me that I really want to hit on is find something to do to fill that gap.
Totally.
Because most of you who are watching this, I'm sure, have, you know, made smoking weed or whatever your drug of choice is a part of your life, your everyday. Find something right away to replace that. For me, it's martial arts, it's church, it's the band, it's, you know, my friends like you. And
starting that new band and stuff.
Yeah, starting a band. I mean, I'm, again, big in martial arts. I go, you know, I do jiu-jitsu, I do Muay Thai, I fight, you know, actively, things like that. But whatever even video games, right? I play video games. I've been doing more gaming, like legitimately. Whatever that is, find it and do it passionately. Because drugs you were doing passionately, replace that with something. Because if not, you're going to have that gap and you're going to fall back into it. So I just encourage everyone, find something that you love, learn to love it again. If it's something of past, you probably stopped because of drugs.
And something that's healthy, because one thing that I noticed that somebody had commented on, I made a list of like 5 things that would really help, like to cope with cravings. This was a video I made last year. And one of my points was if you're craving like smoking weed, instead snacks. That's what really works for me. I like peach gummy rings. That's because I have lost a lot of weight, right? And I'm trying to gain weight. But for somebody else, that might be a bad idea to.
So that's literally one of the other things. It's on my app, right? That I'm tracking. I'm cutting out processed, and I could eat 3-4 bags of sour gummy worms easily, right? And that's why I gained so much weight. And I'm down now, but when I came back from Thailand, I was like 132 pounds at my best, and I was like 190 2 years later, and that was because of that. I replaced it with candy.
You know what?
So I'm cutting all that out. I'm cooking for myself. I'm learning to cook. I never did that, right? So I'm trying to be healthy in that way. So you're right. Don't do it for negative things.
You know what's crazy is peach gummy rings is what got me to start smoking. This is wild. When I first turned 18. I would always go and get peach gummy rings from the gas station and stuff like that. And the one day I went and they were out of them, and I got something else, and I saw that they had a peach White Owl cigar. I didn't even smoke it. I bought it and I sucked on the tip, and I thought I might look really cool. I was just in my car by myself in a parking lot, sucking on a peach White Owl, and then I did it again, and then the third time I lit it. And I didn't know how to smoke a cigar, but it was the first thing I ever smoked in my entire life. And it was literally peach gummy rings that led to that thing. So just before we wrap it up, I just want to encourage everyone out there that you're not alone. If we can do it, you can definitely do it, because we are as broken as two individuals could be.
Broken people, man.
Yeah.
And,
but thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Justin, for being here.
Yeah, this was definitely was a little nervous. If I said I'm not going to watch it or reading the comments. If I end up doing be nice in the comments, I'm nervous. But no, thank you for having me. Like I said, I'm always happy to, making a video a day or, every other day, it's going to be intense. Yeah. It's going to be a lot, but there's a community now that expects these things, and I'm always happy to help and jump on. Even, if there's any topics you want us to hit on, whatever that is, I'm happy to be here and support you, support others. Yeah. So thank you for this opportunity. I've told so many people about the channel, just because it's, as a friend, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, well,
but also I want others to know, like I said, I'm screaming it from the rooftop. Yeah. Because I want to help, and you doing this is huge for everyone in this community, myself, and thank you.
Maybe we'll do a follow up for our first 90 days sober or something like that. Do another interview and see how we're feeling at that point.
In March, right? So, wow. Yeah. Cute. Yeah. That would be good. So.
I made it 6 months last time, and so we're going to be able to do it. And I gained so much weight, like healthy weight.
And it's funny, you want to gain, I want to lose.
Yeah.
So we're on opposite ends. But no, it's going to be cool. I think, looking at where we are in 3 months, 6 months, whatever that is, and documenting that through this journey, it's going to be huge. I didn't document, my weight loss and things enough, so documenting things is awesome.
But even just last night, I watched the first video I posted, which was only 10 days ago.
It was like death.
Yeah. Oh, I felt like death.
Not to be mean, but I looked at that. I was like, oh, this
dude,
poor. Yeah.
I felt like death. Yeah. But you know what? I needed to be transparent. I needed to go, and even the video quality, right? Like I would have at that point, I would have never sat and set up lights and multiple cameras and stuff. And
I feel like I'm in a studio.
I literally sat there like this, and the thing is, I have unlimited amounts of equipment to me. This is what I do for a living, right? I make other people's videos, and mine looked awful, but I felt awful, and you couldn't have ever convinced me to
real, and I think that's what is so cool about this channel, our conversation today, right? I'm sure there's things I'll look back on and be like, I shouldn't have said that, but it was real. Nothing was scripted.
Totally.
We had a 30
we said we weren't going to curse.
I'm like,
I yelled one F word in the middle.
I did well, but I thought of a few things earlier today. We didn't prepare at all because this is real. Yeah. And the moment you started that was real, and we have to be real to each other to be real to yourself. Yeah. And if you're not real to yourself, you're not going to make it. Totally. So it's funny. We keep saying we'll end on this, and then I think we did that for the first time 10 minutes ago. But
that's how we decided to do this conversation. That we were just talking on the phone, and it was like, oh, it's been 45 minutes. Why don't we
never talked to someone that long. Like as long as you and I talk, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I never.
So I was like, why don't we just film it and go from there? And Friday, I'm filming the exact same thing like this, but with my wife, and it's probably going to be a lot of tears from me. And because I've already, I wanted to just be completely honest. How does it make you feel when I'm like that? Because when I'm in it, she's not going to tell me, because then it might make me even more.
I'm excited for that, because I remember early on, 1 or 2 days in, you had me on speakerphone with her, and just hearing some of the commentary, right? And I think it's going to be really good. I think it's going to impact a lot of people because what we're doing is impacting others.
Totally.
When we're high, you're impacting those around you, relationships, friends, whatever that is. So, but yeah, thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
thank you all if you made it this far, for listening. And like I said, anything anyone needs, we're here, and we're going to keep going. We're going to make it at least, I think it's going to be lifetime, but at least this year.
Definitely a year. So, and start that last note I'll make, start with a goal that you know that you can attain.
Attainable, yeah.
If I said that I was going to go if we said together, all right, we're going to go the rest of our life not smoking weed, we 100% 100% fail at some point. 100%.
Yeah, even
if it's 10 years from now,
alcohol, like I don't struggle personally with alcohol. I know I'm not going to, I might drink alcohol this year, like in a certain setting, right? Like I said, if I go to Italy, have a glass of wine, something, I'm not going to do it by myself. I'm not doing it in the first 3 months because I don't want to become a crutch, but do what is attainable in your life to make you better.
Totally. Well, thank you, Justin, and thank you, guys, and I will see you in a couple days.
Thanks.
There we go. Yeah.